My guest this morning, Emmanuel Chamanting Jakong, is a member of Parliament for Ayawaso West Wagon. He's a member of the MPP. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, thank you very much too for passing through our studios to spend the next 30 minutes with us. We also have here the chairman of NDC, Greater Accra, Joseph Ni Adekoka. I try to add Yemo. Chairman one, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
All right, great. Now let's
He's
look at...
my very good friend.
Oh, he is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, in Nigeria too, we used to do MPP politics in Danzuman together.
I see.
I'm an old fox.
He's an old fox.
We used to do. Did you hear? We used to do on the same side.
I tried to brush that one aside. I heard what she said. But don't worry. That time we're just
beginning the
democracy.
Show, yes.
So you need to find your feet.
Anyway.
So I'm sure he was finding his feet from elephant to umbrella. All right, we'll see how that goes. But we know there's an ongoing. Eventually, I want us to end our discussions on the subject of the economy, because the president has been going on what he calls the... What's the president's talk?
Accounting to the people.
Accounting to the people. And you call yours
evidence-based accounting to the people.
All right. And so he's been saying the economy is resilient. We also know that the expected growth figures for the year, the IMF has seemed to have lowered it for Ghana. So at least even if we perform not too well, we'll still be within the brackets. But let's look at this. There's a report, and my colleague Mama Viusoba just had a discussion about ongoing occultism in Wesley Girls High School. Of course, we've had officials of the school get to GES and raise concerns about what the media reportage is. I know that there are concerns also that it could affect the reputation of the school, etc. But what do you make of it? I mean, we all went through secondary school one way or the other.
Yes.
We know what happens in our communities and things.
Let me say good morning to your viewers.
Good morning to you, sir.
My brother here. Yeah. Since yesterday, this has been on the news. On the news, and it's very interesting that in this country, you know, when something comes, we spend the whole time flogging it.
You mean we're wasting our time?
But this is an old thing that has been. It's ages. I mean, you know of the lodge. The lodge, people believe that those who go to lodge practice occultism. All over the world, in certain countries, these things are religion. I mean, you've been seeing true movies showing occultism. Look at that movie, Omen. I mean, what was it about? Occultism, you know? So it's not new to us. Probably because the name Wesley Girls becomes something sensational. But when you go to almost all the second, where you have a lot of youth, young girls and boys coming together, there's bound to be certain things certain nuances, when you are growing up, that you probably will want to go through. I remember our days in secondary schools. I mean, I went to the college at the Saddle, you know, and we had so many things happening there. Some of our colleagues were smoking ganja. Those days, cocaine had not actually surfaced. You know, people had no manner of things, right? But you come out of it. I think one of the aspects is that this social media and recent movies and all this, sometimes what do you call it?
Consolidation of the media
and all these things puts our youth into certain situation. I don't think it's something that we should think is something new. What needs to be done is that if it is there, you cannot run away from it. How do we get out of these things? One, parental control. You see, parents, when your children come from school, this day and everybody is rushing, the mad rush to gain certain wealth and assets, rather negates the family making sure that the children are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they lose contact of most of the children's activities. So it starts from there. So when they're in the secondary schools, it's difficult for the headmistress or the headmaster or the house mistress or house master to really take, what do you call it, be at all places at the same time. Because kids are very mischievous, right? So I would say that we shouldn't flog the issue. What we should rather do is that I believe it's something that everybody should open his eyes. When these students have come to school, they should open their eyes and find out what they are doing. They should be engaged in extracurricular activities that will rather engage their minds, right? Because the idle mind really has.
So relatively, it's all about the management of the schools,
and parents also being actively involved in their children's education.
And livelihood.
Yeah, because these things with the current mobile phones and social media, a lot of things are happening.
Mr. Chairman Tingeja, you go to the Western world, whether it's in Europe, America, etc., for colleges and even high schools, they have what they call the fraternities. And I know that it all stems from the Freemasons and things like that. It is a known thing if you belong to a fraternity in school. You belong to a Latin-named fraternity, for which you can trace your roots to some of the earlier settlers and governors, or perhaps all the rulers of America or the UK, etc. Is this something different from all that? Now, besides, we are a society that have practiced African tradition or African traditional religion. And then even in the churches, we perform all sorts of rituals, so to speak. I mean, they are rituals, I call them, not in the sense of voodoo or idolatry or whatever it is, but there are certain things we do that also connote some level of ritual.
Occultism, use the word.
Thank you for having me this morning, and let me say good morning to our viewers. I hold a slightly different opinion from what my very good friend and brother Adekoka is saying. I think that from time immemorial, it has been there. First and foremost, I think we need to define what we are talking about. I think that is the first thing. We clearly need to define all of this. Occultism, cult, traditional beliefs, and all of this. I think we must clearly distinguish all of these things. A traditional, somebody who practices traditional religion I don't think will hold himself as practicing occultism. So first and foremost, I think we must clearly define and put them in the appropriate boxes. Secondly, and to this extent I agree with Ade, that these things, I want to believe that they are as old as civilization. You know, human beings, because we have limitations, because we are not God, everybody seeks to know. And it's the fear of unknown, it's the wanting
that
to be certain.
level of curiosity.
Yeah, and even wanting to be certain. Everybody wants some protection. Everybody wants to be sure that my next step is firm. So it happens to all human beings. Footballers, growing up, we hear footballers before they go to play football. I want to believe that even in
I didn't hear. I saw some. I grew up in Ashaiman, so yeah, I saw. I used to visit the parks to watch football.
When I want to believe that politicians, all sorts of people will come to me. You must decide on whom you will listen to and whom you will not listen to. You know, I think we must put it in a proper context. Growing up in Ashanti Hotel, Abyss Park, they used to do something for girls, you know. Then they will draw a circle or a four square and put a tumbler in and put water, and they'll say that you're a holy boy, so come and look into it. They'll take the picture of the girl and rap. Look, if you listen to Lumba, in one of his songs, he alludes to those things. Oma Pastor Chante, on Chante Bay type. All of those things are things we did 40 years ago, 50 years ago. So there has always been this kind of a thing, if we place it in the proper context, I don't worry. Somebody wants to believe this, somebody wants to believe that.
What do you think it is?
I think what is happening.
What happens in the secondary schools?
What is happening currently, and indeed, my own view is that in the secondary schools, it is essentially out of curiosity that people do this. They are 15, 16-year-olds are very impressionable. You go to, otherwise, why? That is the age, that is the time. If you don't take time, they get into drugs. They will be told stories, fanciful, flowery stories.
And they become adventurous too.
And they become adventurous. Okay, so you will need to keep an eye. But I think that what worries me lately is a certain new craze where people will do things that borders on criminality for the sake of money, for the sake of power, and nobody seems or have the capacity to talk about it. This business of Sakawa, I think is real. Today you find 20, 22-year-old boys
driving some crazy cars,
living
in some fanciful houses.
All of it, I want to believe, stems out of ritual murders and
all that.
And all of that. I mean, if you want to perform some rituals without criminality, it is up to you. I mean, you must have the faith to believe in something. One day, the God of the universe will judge all of us.
Right.
Okay, but if there is an element of criminality, then that must be stopped.
There's a certain time.
And the worrying thing is that today, for me, this is why I said, the worrying thing is that today, it is, look, our television is full of things like this. The African movies,
brotherhood.
They make it look like the only way you will be successful or solve a problem is through magic. If a ghost does not come in, you must go to the fetish, or you must. That is
even
worrying.
in the churches. If there's something not unusual, then it becomes you're not powerful enough. So there has to be some element of.
You understand me?
Some kind
even
of ritual.
in the so-called churches today.
Yeah, the miracles are.
People talk about supernatural things.
You wash feet, you drink things, you put oil, you do stuff. It's all a ritual. You do something.
So that for me is the worrying bit. And that is just the.
They tell you.
I am the ultimate Democrat. I believe that people must have the right to practice and believe, but we must not permit criminality into the things we do.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Now, let's move this very subject. The president has been going on an accounting to people tour. I think he's visited the Volta region. Yes, he has. Or hasn't he?
He started with the Western region.
Yeah, he started with the Western region.
After the Volta region, he was invited by some chiefs.
No, okay.
Yeah, he started from the Western region.
And that was a very interesting visit he did.
Well, that's all right. Now he's in the Eastern region.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
that's my home region.
Yes. On the front
Actually, he went to my hometown yesterday.
Yes.
Was it where? Dodua or where?
No, Korodumasi.
Front page of the Ghanaian Times, it says economy is resilient due to government's prudent management. Well, the president keeps mentioning a lot of things. He said he gave the assurance government will continue to implement the growth of the economy, social investment and infrastructure to enable sustainable development. And we also have a report by the IMF that is projecting that Ghana's economy will not witness much growth as forecasted by government for this year.
A resilient economy.
Yeah, within the context of the African economy and the world economy.
Okay.
Yeah, within the context. You see, when they're making the issue, look at
I'm laying a preamble, relax.
Yeah, so but my brother was jumping in, so I want to remind him that it's within a certain context.
It's called cold comfort. What you're doing is called cold comfort.
But let me ask you, you know, sometimes when you hear all the things that the president says, and indeed you government communicators say, you're a party communicator, and government communicators also seem to say all these things, but then perhaps maybe ordinary citizens tend to be at variance in terms of what did the president do in Parliament, the
evidence base, yes.
And then the citizens don't have a feel of an evidence-based reality of a livelihood.
You see,
how do you feel about
Roland?
it? Yes, please.
Let me tell you something. We always look at figures. inflation is this,
Yes.
inflation is that, growth is that.
But that's a good benchmark.
I'm coming. No.
Only benchmark.
No. In our context, you are talking about the real people out there. If we put up a school, right, do you know the multiply effect of that community? The children who will not have the opportunity to have gone to school or who have walked miles and miles and miles to go to school, and they come back and they are tired and they cannot study. And have that school in the community where teachers will be employed. Somebody will come and, a vendor will come and pitch a camp there, right? And in that particular area, growth has taken place. Growth has taken place. It's when you're talking about the African economy or the developing economy, you're talking about how are the people feeling. Water. If you go to an area where they don't have water to drink. And
so to you and your government,
that is what we're talking about.
Those are the real things.
Real things. So when you're talking about inflation, 12%, one question is, who is going to eat inflation? Nobody is going to eat inflation. But when you have real things, real things, things that are that will at least enjoy the benefit of the common person within a particular area. That's what we're talking about. You build the schools, you build the hospitals, you construct the roads, right? And it saves a lot of people from suffering from those lack of those amenities. So for me, when you're talking about IMF, they are sitting there, Washington.
Really? And you went there to when you needed money, you see, when you needed credibility, when you needed policy credibility. I'm sorry. You know me, when you are doing
this.
I'm sorry.
Don't worry, I know. He plays mystery sometimes, but that's okay.
You know, he wants to take me out of my space.
And your thinking.
Exactly.
Your level.
You understand? The IMF, we are part of the IMF. When you go to the micro and micro level, you look at them. But I'm saying that when we come to reality on the ground, that is what matters.
Okay.
If people are Denta, Teshinungwa,
they're getting water.
They're getting water.
After years of not getting.
After years of not getting water.
That's comforting enough for you.
Look. Yesterday I was on an outreach at Ladadeko Tompo.
NDC outreach.
Yes. You see, and this woman came out and said, look, for her, what is gratifying now, she doesn't go and carry yellow cans to go and look for water.
And that's good indication that you'll be voted for again. Is that it?
I'm not talking about that. We are talking about IMF growth rate. I'm telling you
the real things.
The real thing that for that particular.
Let me ask you this: yes. When you go and do all these consultations with the ordinary Ghanaian, and they tell you, yes, we have schools, we have, for example, I find it comfortable that in about 5 months' time, I will be able to fly from Circle to Kaneshi on a flyover. I find it comfortable.
Exactly.
But for me, that's the only benchmark by which I will use in retaining your government or voting for an MPP one in November. Do you get me?
Yeah.
But do you get that feeling that that is not the benchmark? The one I will use is not the same that the ordinary ones will use. Yeah, it depends on who. And so they will use your benchmark.
Yeah, it depends on whom I'm talking to. It depends on which. That's why I've told that it should be community based. Every area has got its people based, and everybody has got its specific demand and needs. So if you go to a certain place and he'll tell you, look, for me, I haven't got work to do.
So they have a new senior high school, they're happy. They have a new road, they're happy.
Because if the person has to
even though they can't pay their electricity bills.
No, you see,
but they have a new road, they're happy.
When you are telling me people cannot pay their electricity bills, I keep asking the question. Some few months back, we used to come and sit here, and we argue that I spent so much money in buying, what do you call it?
Now we've changed the narrative.
We changed the narrative, and I said, I'm prepared to pay the price that will ensure that I get power 24/7. And we all agreed here. Now that the thing is 24/7 and we are getting, the same people have said it's expensive. So what else can we do? My brother here and I know that we have all stayed abroad before. I
haven't too. I'm a local person.
He said, yeah, but I know just Cyprus.
Yeah, argument.
You said we have lived. I have never lived.
You have never lived outside.
No, I have always lived.
You have gone outside.
Yes.
You have seen how they live.
Yeah.
Exactly. They pay the price for the goods and services that are given them so that those things will be continually available.
But that's in a relative environment where all conditions being constant.
Listen, but
the other factors that will enable them live that way are available, i.e. good public transport system.
Exactly. So how do you get there?
Good public health system.
Yes. How do you get there? How you as a developing country get there? Are you going to fold your arms and sit there and assume that it is going to come from manna, from heaven?
Mr. Chairman, do you think that the argument for the governing party and the government in power suffices, especially for them and their congregation, so to speak, let me use that word, if they try to defer your sort of argument that it's because of the lack of priority and so much focus on infrastructure? That's why we're where we are, because if they were focusing on some other things of the economy, then we wouldn't be complaining about how the growth rate is now reduced because the economy is not performing and the other real sectors of the economy are also not performing well.
All right, so I hear that His Excellency the President was in my hometown.
Krobo Dumasi. Jang.
Inga nyechwepe ngeklo.
Jang.
Ukribone panyamo.
Jang.
Jehaya ne panawo. Leke abi adeke wawo.
Mochun.
Inuka wache ba here. Inga nyechwepe. You know, I hear His Excellency the President was there in the parts of the eastern region, including my hometown. And what he is saying is that, as for now, he is doing some good things. So from next year, then he'll start putting money into the pockets of people.
Well, that's a message, is that not it?
You see?
Is that a bad message?
Let me tell you, at the end of the day, the whole thing about our human existence and our human living is affordability.
Really?
Oh, Roland, why do you work?
To get money, so I can.
So that you can take care of your family and come to work every day. So now His Excellency the President is telling all of us that, as for now, don't worry, let's bite the bullet. From next year, when you vote for me again, I will start putting money in your pockets. I want to state without equivocation that this is not the first time His Excellency the President is saying this. In 2012, in his campaign, he said the same thing. That they have laid the foundation, and that starting when they voted for him again, he was president. Let's not kid ourselves. In 2012, he was president. He contested the elections as president. And that he was going to put money in the pockets of people. So you see, you ask, so what about the so-called infrastructure? I'm surprised that Chamade is not carrying the green book. I'm extremely surprised.
I've not seen him carry some before, though. I think
so
he's able to memorize all the pictures.
Exactly.
For me, let us place it in context. We use words. The real economy. He used the word. What is the real economy? Yeah, I'm not an economist, though. I haven't had opportunity of doing too much school. But the economists will tell you that there are some things they consider the real economy. Industry, manufacturing, agric. Today, every single thing that the economists consider the real economy is collapsed. When you grow your agric by 0.04,
if you say collapse, you mean they are not? Those sectors are not doing well.
I don't want to interject. You and the face I'll come in.
Collapse means collapse.
You want me to come in?
Tell me.
No, don't come in.
Tell me. When manufacturing is negative, it's contracting. That is what you call real. But otherwise, what Chairman Ade is talking about is the people who live in not even in Odumasi, we have our village. Asisawa was considered, why we are going to the village. So my relatives that live in Tibuaso or Sisiama, Chairman Ade is sitting here and saying that, oh, they sent self-help electrification project to them. So that is it.
Is it a loss of focus?
No, there is a need for infrastructural development.
So why the complaint then?
Indeed, there is a need. But you see, I will place it in context. When His Excellency the President was invited by the chiefs of the Southern Volta, the Anglodo, the same, you know, something happened. His Excellency the President went on and said that, these things they are saying, it is the MPP people who have come to say things, and but you see, with the greatest due, with the greatest of respect, the chief, the Awomafia of Anglo. If you take 3 chiefs in this country, I deem him as one of the 3 most important chiefs. And indeed, he is a very enlightened man, a retired commissioner of police. The chiefs in Anglo are all very well educated, self-made men. What they told His Excellency the President is the President. We hear and we see that you have made some roads, yes. You have made some schools, you have constructed some schools, yes.
And they were very real.
Built some hospitals.
They were very factual too.
Yeah. But these things has no direct bearing on our people. Our young men are unemployed and all of them are beginning to become armed robbers. This morning we are talking about all these things, the social vices that are coming up. Number 2, and it cuts my heart, and it will cut the heart of any parent. Young girls are now beginning to be prostitutes. They sell themselves for money.
That's not because the economy is not good.
This is what the chief said. He said that they can't find employment. There is nothing they can do.
But in America, they find employment where they have hundreds or even millions of prostitutes.
Yes.
It's a legalized profession.
Oh.
I think that's a bad example you have to give them.
I am quoting the Omefia.
I know.
I am quoting him.
I read that.
So
too.
if you want, say that the chief said the wrong thing.
Good.
The real context is that it is not about building a hospital. It is not only about building a hospital. When you talk about health, I know it because I'm a health person. There are 2 aspects. The most important thing about health is access. Access has 2 legs that it stands on: geographical and financial. There is a hospital in Kumasi. It is called the Kumasi. It used to be called the Kumasi Central Hospital. Was built by a contractor called G, so everybody calls it G. It is in Bantama. People live 2-3 minutes away from the hospital, and they still die in their rooms because
they can't get access.
You don't get the geographical access is there,
but
the financial access is not there.
And that's all you call not having access.
Yeah. So and so you see,
you're saying those are the real things.
These are
because the infrastructure is there, but you have limitations in access.
Go to Tiboso, go to Sisiaman. Yes, you brought the light.
But they can't pay bills.
They can't.
You've built the flyover.
They can't even.
You've built the flyover, but people can't afford the transportation costs.
The people can't even buy food to eat.
Okay, but how about this? Is it not the other side too? You can afford, you can pay the highest of fares.
You see?
You can pay the highest of fares, but the infrastructure for you to travel
but I am telling you,
it delays your time going to work.
I'm telling you.
At the end of the period,
I can completely agree.
There's some level of loss of production.
Those things will go in tandem. You know, I think that it is disingenuous for anybody to sit and say that IMF, they are sitting there somewhere and that it is not inflation we eat. That is the real measure. There is no other measure. Yeah. It is like democracy. Democracy may not be perfect, but that is the best form we have now.
And the measure is you have free speech, etc.
The only measure for whether the country is doing well are these economic indices. So you say, when your inflation is bad, or it is pointing in the wrong direction, when your debt to GDP is pointing in the wrong direction, you think that my brother who lives in Sisiaman or
So
Ntibonsi
you
does
think
not
that the president
understand
is just justifying
but the impact on his daily life, that petroleum prices are going down.
So the president is just
worldwide,
justifying
and
nothing
that
for something.
the price he has to pay to come from Sisiaman to Asasewa before he comes from Asasewa to Numasi, the price keeps going up every day. Just last week, they increased the price of petrol.
Now, we know that this is going to fit into the narrative for the electioneering, because it's going to be about whether the government over the last 4 years has prioritized its developmental policies and agenda, and how that also fits into the whole purview of how your biggest opposition that is willing to come into government to change the whole concept of the way development is done is or can do. So that is why the president is going on this very tandem, saying that despite the real things of the economy, the inflation being high, prices at some levels, jobs not available, we're fixing things, building the schools, etc. And that by the next 4 years, things will be better.
Roland, you see, fortunately, I'm an economist, so I can speak well to the question.
Sure.
Yeah, he said it's not. Even countries with 0.5% inflation have what huge numbers of employment. Huge number of unemployment. Lack of facilities, accommodation, you name it. Countries with 0% of inflation.
Like which one?
United States of America. When
they always have their unemployment in millions.
In millions.
But it's also because of the population.
Exactly. I'm just saying that it's not peculiar. Inflation and unemployment are not synonymous. You understand? Listen to something. What we are talking about is that in a country like us, if you have infrastructure deficit, and look, Bawumia on his fourth point of his narrative.
The 10 points.
The 10 points. The fourth one, he said, they are going to invest in infrastructure to enable employment.
So what? You are not wrong after all. Is that what you're saying?
After all, so we are saying that. So let me go to the voter region. Government cannot give every Ghanaian employment because government employs public servants and civil servants. And in our time, we are even saying that the numbers.
Now what do we say? Government needs to create the needed environment.
I'm coming. So the government.
That's the phrase we've been using in the media
and the
for a long
government has
time.
created the enable environment.
Are you sure?
I'm coming. Let's look at the university that has been created at voter region.
Allied Health.
Allied Health. Look, it's going to employ janitors.
Has it employed or is going to?
Oh, it's employing. It will employ.
It's expanding. I hear there will be a pharmacy.
It will employ
a pharmacy department.
It will employ janitors. It will employ vendors who come and speed their.
But we're talking about numbers.
Look, but you see, but it's a little drops of water. What from the mighty ocean?
Makes the mighty ocean.
Exactly. So we are creating the enabling environment. So the people in voter region, look, what's their peculiarity? They are a farming community. So probably we should now look at another area of if they prefer that they don't like hospitals and they want us to go and put tractors there, then it behoves on us to change the paradigm shift in that particular area.
But you think that's not the way to go?
But we believe that when you put the infrastructure there, you are able to. There will be a multiplier effect. You understand? There will be a multiplier. Once an infrastructure takes place, my brother is in West Oregon. I'm coming. Let me finish.
Is the president having a hard time trying to convince people to accept his?
He knows Flower Road from the police station.
Yeah.
At East Legon police station.
That's behind. Close to the motorway.
No, the stretch.
Yeah,
the main stretch.
He remembers very well that some few years back, that place, the road was dusty. It was not tarred.
The Flower Road.
The Flower Road was not tarred.
It's not leading to the Noble Restaurant road.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
This is
living room.
This is living room. Where current living
Going to
room.
American House.
Yes, the current. Those days, those places were not tarred. Now that they have been tarred, he knows the amount of business that have been set up because that road was tarred.
Because that road was very rough. Yeah.
Today, when you go there, they have vulcanizers there. There are these people selling car materials. A lot of he goes there to campaign. He goes there. If you had not created that road, there will be nobody for him to go there for him to go and campaign and ask for their votes. You understand? So that little stretch of road has created employment. That's what the people. So the government creates the enabling environment for us citizens to make use of it. If you decide that you are going to be a prostitute, it is also another way you earn a living.
But it's not a
But
justifying.
in other countries, they've even paid taxes for that. So why do you criminalize that position? You know, let's be serious. We are in a political say. We are saying that our paradigm shift is that we are going to ensure that the infrastructure deficit in this country comes up, so that we'll be able.
The deficit comes up. No, you will reduce the deficit.
We will reduce the deficit, the infrastructure deficit. We are going to reduce it to enable people to take advantage of that.
To be a platform on which you can.
And when you go to Dubai, I keep giving this example.
But we're not Dubai.
15 years
Don't give those examples.
Please,
We've all been to Dubai.
15
We're
years
not Dubai.
ago, when I went to Dubai, it was full of sand dunes. Today, infrastructure development.
This is not the first time you are saying.
Yes,
you are
yes,
saying this.
because they
But we're not Dubai.
They took a conscious. They made a conscious effort that we are going to position Dubai into a certain category. So what should we do? We should turn the sand dunes into infrastructure.
Let me even add. Let me even help your argument. They even have a budget deficit of $100 billion.
Yes,
Let me say this. I think it is such a wrong example to give. What he's saying is that they are creating the word, the operative word is an enabling environment.
Exactly.
Today, go and ask all the industries. That is why manufacturing is contracting.
Yeah.
Employment is generated. Indeed, ideally, it must not even be generated so much by government. You need a small public service to service the private sector. Ideally. Today,
I think in all countries, employment is generated by the private
go
sector.
and ask any private sector operator. Look at the banks. Even the banks are suffering now.
If you have deficit in power, the
banks are suffering now.
How can you
today? Everybody business is contracting.
But do we
the
all
private
agree?
sector is contracting.
But do we all agree?
And then you turn around and say that you have done what?
But do we
When
agree?
you have done it, look, the multiplier effect. If you create one thing, the multiplier should come and it should reflect in a growing GDP, in a growing national account, in a growing in a reducing public debt. But you claim to be doing the infrastructure. All the other indicators are pointing in the opposite direction. So it means that you are doing something wrong. It certainly means that you are doing something wrong. In Dubai, the Dubai he is talking about, they have borrowed money to do it. Every other thing is pointing in the correct direction. So it means that the infrastructure they are developing, it is improving GDP, it is improving even per capita, inflation is coming down, business confidence is rising. Why is it that as for you claim that you are doing the infrastructure, and every indicator that must come out of the infrastructure is pointing in the wrong direction? Something is amiss. Something is wrong.
Okay, I have to wrap up. But I wanted to ask you this. Yes. It's okay. As for the economy, it's going to be the fulcrum around which we have. Don't say anything, Mr.
No. It is even related.
I wanted to ask him one word. Yamu Aponko. Why is that you keep sending him to Edriso? Why? I want to ask your government why.
Yamapunko.
I think this is the second time he's been rejected.
You have the opportunity to go 3 times, and then if you are rejected.
So you are going to send him again?
Well, I don't know whether he's going to go for the.
What did the president tell you when you called him yesterday evening?
Oh, yes, I haven't spoken to him on this issue. Well, he has. Only yesterday was rejected, and he's been all over the place. But I think that should cool down. And then if your own people are...
Is your party taking a serious view of this?
Well, now...
Because then
this is the second time...
It's lowering your party's opinion poll rates in an already turbulent environment in which you're not popular.
In the Ashanti region, right? In the Ashanti region, and there's some peculiarity there. You have a situation that where most of the assemblymen are MPP. Most of the assemblymen...
It's logical.
It's logical, right? So if you have a candidate who is not supposed, who the people know that.
So you're saying MPP assemblymen are rejecting?
47 of them.
I say this?
No wonder he's also blaming the MPP.
You see, in the case of Yamapunko, even his own NDC people are saying they don't like him.
His own
NDC people are saying.
So it's not a case of the MPP.
I think you have asked a very good question. Why is it that you go and the people tell you clearly that we don't like this, including the NDC people? You see, did you remember the president talks about Ethiopia? As for me, when I make up my
That's what
mind,
you
to-
said.
It's not a matter of.
if I make up my mind to do something
It's not a matter
against
It's not a matter of.
Emmanuel Chairman.
You know, you have to go
against
through
the
time.
way that people
You
feel,
know-
against the way that people
you
want,
know, you have the
against
opportunity.
So it's a typical case of Yentiobia.
Yeah. But
Bam,
let
yada.
me just,
We're taking a break, but
Roland, let me just add this. I think that in the first discussion, I believe that maybe he made it, but I think that I wanted to emphasize that it is important
The
that
occultism.
in the face of all of this, there's no magic. The most important thing is the role of the parent. The parent must decide and determine, and a lot of the outcomes depends on how the parents want it. Look, growing up, when my son was going to school in secondary,
which secondary school did your son go to?
He went to secondary school. I will regularly go and check his bag.
Yeah.
Regularly.
So that you
And
don't
his
find
sleep.
any role
Yeah.
of joint.
Yeah.
We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll be looking at entertainment.
You must wake up at 12 o'clock in the night.
I've had in the studio Emmanuel Chairman Ejako. He's a member of the MPP, but a member of parliament for Ayawaso West Wogon. He says he's going to win that seat again. It's a cool job for him.
Next time I'll go and contest.
And then also we have Joseph Ni Yamo Adekoka. The Yamo is not part of the name. And he's the chairman for NDC Greater Accra, Chairman 1. We're taking a break. We'll be right back.